Okay. All right. So I have just opened up the chat bar. It is 5:30 on the dot. I want to welcome you all, but I want to, before I actually speak a lot of stuff, I want to make sure you can hear me and that you can see me. So there is a chat bar on your right-hand side. If you could just let me know that you can hear me and see me, that would be great. I can see lots of you coming into the room here. So I'm just going to hang back until I see somebody type in the chat bar that you can hear me and see me. Shannon says hi. All right. Okay. So this is a yes. Hello. Yes to both. Perfect. Okay, so I try to be as punctual as possible. So if there are other people that are coming in, they can just join us in after. But I want to welcome all of you who took the time. This was really last minute. I do a lot of things like this, and this is very informal. If you've done any of my other webinars before or master classes, I'm typically sitting way over there where my office space is, and I'm actually down on the ground in my bedroom because there's this really beautiful breeze coming in from the lake, and it's just gorgeous tonight, and I wanted to sit here. So a couple of days ago, I was having a few core conversations with women about different hormonal issues that they had been dealing with, a lot of confusion, feeling lack of education. And when we're not educated, when we don't understand why our body is feeling a certain way, or we're, going to our family doctor or to our OBG or whomever it is, and being told that you're fine, or this is just normal. When you know deep down that something is off in your system and you're not feeling normal, that where do you go to get the answers? And so if you have been following me, and if you haven't been following me, let me do a little intro of who I am. I'm Jenn Pike. Welcome to my bedroom. Welcome to my masterclass tonight. I am a registered holistic nutritionist and medical exercise specialist, and I specialize in women's health and hormones. So my big passion is teaching women about their body, everything from your digestive system and inflammatory processes to your menstrual cycle, perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. I do a lot of teaching about the adrenals and the thyroid. And tonight I wanted to open up the forum. It is much easier for me to do something like this, answering Q&A, than it is for me to be connected to a cell phone all day, answering questions that come in. And you could imagine how many questions I receive in a day between Facebook and Instagram. And so tonight I've got about, well, there was a lot that were submitted. I have the next 45 to 55 minutes that my husband and son are at the hockey arena and my daughter is occupied. And then once my family is back home, I am going to hop off here. So we're going to get through as much as we can. Now, a lot of the questions were overlapping. There was a ton about acne. There was a ton about hair loss. There was a ton about what type of test do I need to be asking for to even understand what's going on with my body hormonally. Talking about cycle syncing and tracking and those types of things. So I have made a list of all of the core questions that we're going to go through, and I'm actually going to minimize the chat screen for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get through these, and every now and again I'm going to come back into the chat panel on that right hand side and ask you, do you have any additional questions? Now, for those of you that are watching the recorded version of this, who are getting this at a later date, you can submit your questions to hello@jennpike.com, and it's Jenn with 2 N's, and either myself or one of our health coaches will get back to you and answer you as best we can. The other thing I just want to say before we get into this tonight is I cannot do a consultation with you tonight in this. I also can't answer a lot of questions that people send to me that are very specific. So I know that women are struggling. I know that they just want somebody to listen. And when they feel like they finally have found someone that understands what they're going through, our first response is to just like barf out our whole health history and then say, okay, now what? You really need to book yourself a consultation with either a holistic nutritionist, a naturopath, a functional medicine practitioner. I only work with women inside the Hormone Project myself, so I don't do just single one-off sessions. We do have coaches on the team who offer that, but I start off by saying that because it's really important to understand, number one, you don't want someone just giving you random information about your case if they've never looked at your blood work, they've never done proper hormonal paneling or metabolic assessment, they've they've never done a health history intake and don't really know the whole you that you are. You don't want to simply just take that advice for what it's worth. You want to spend time with somebody who's going to get to understand more about you and really know the history of your whole life and being that has brought you up to the body you have now, to the symptoms that you have now, and to the struggles that you have now. So I can't stress that enough, how important that investment is, okay? It's, you know, I just went up to the food pantry and dropped off $1,300 worth of food to the food pantry that we had raised last week. And, you know, all week I've just been having this thought in my mind of, we take it for granted what we spend on our food, what we spend on dining out, on alcohol, on a latte, on clothes we don't need, on, you know, extravagant vehicles, on all of these things. And then all of a sudden it comes to our health, and it comes to the notion of booking in with a practitioner. And if it's not covered, we're like, oh, well, I can't afford it. And we actually can. We just have to make choices in other areas of our life. So, little side note, digress of that. Okay, so are you ready to head into the question portion so we can get a lot out of our time together tonight? Just give me like a thumbs up on the side or a yes. And I know it gives you the option to like raise your hand at the bottom. Don't do that. Actually type it into that chat bar for me. And then if you guys are all ready to go, then we're going to get going. Ready? Awesome. Okay, sweet. All right, so I'm going to minimize this chat here on this side. And then, like I said, every now and again, I'm going to pop back in. First question, and this was the number one question that came in, was understanding why you are struggling with hormonal acne when you are no longer a teenager or in puberty. And this is probably an area that, you know, I think is on the rise. Women dealing with hormonal acne, it could be all over the face. It could be hanging out specifically around the jawline, and why that is going on. So what you have to understand that you're up against is not necessarily your skincare products, right? It's important that what you're putting on your skin is, you know, oil-based, that it's organic, that it doesn't have a lot of chemicals and perfumes and, you know, xenoestrogens, those types of things. And I'll go a little bit deeper into that. But really, you've got to understand that you've got yourself up against your endocrine system, and that there are different points in our menstrual cycle where we have got estrogen and testosterone that are peaking. And if your body's not processing these hormones correctly, eliminating the excess. So I see this a lot with estrogen dominance or high levels of DHEA or testosterone. And if the body's having a difficult time eliminating, so if you're constipated, you don't have good quality poops, or you've got the opposite of constipation where everything is kind of mushy and just goes right through you, that's not a good quality elimination pathway. And this is how we detox and get those excess hormones out. So if they're not properly being filtered out through your phase 1 and phase 2 detox, and then moved out of your body through phase 3 detox, they stay in your system, they move themselves, they get recirculated back up into the body. And it's oftentimes this excess estrogen and testosterone that can result in acne. And so most of the time that women come to me with this, they say it really gets bad around my ovulation and it gets bad around my actual menstrual cycle. And this is because these are two peak points when the hormones are really at, you know, their highest levels, or in the case of when our menstrual cycle begins, dropping to that lowest level. And this can trigger some of these inflammatory responses in our body, primarily acne. Now, for those of you who wrote in, there were a few of you who said that this was postpartum acne, that you hadn't really had a lot of acne until after you had your babies. Like, that was me. I had my first child, my daughter, carried a girl, beautiful skin, no issues. Carried a boy. It woke up like every sleeping androgenic male pattern hormone in my body. And I battled cystic acne all across my jawline and that area for probably a solid 8 years. And this is one of the reasons why I created the Hormone Project. And I teach and talk so much about what I do, is because I share my own journey to supporting my body, supporting those hormones, and really getting down to that root cause of why my skin was acting up so much. So we often forget that our skin is our biggest organ of elimination, and it's working with your whole body. So your liver is a huge part of this. So what I would ask you, for those of you suffering from acne or rashes or eczema, psoriasis, hives, anything where you feel like your skin is giving you a sign like, hey there, I'm not doing so good on the inside, and I am trying to push stuff to the surface to get your attention to try to help me out. This is like my SOS to you. So are you supporting your liver, right? Are you supporting your lymphatic system, your intestinal system? Because these three really act as one unit, and they can't be separated when it comes to treating the root cause of acne. So the first thing is your diet. Are you eating a healthy whole foods diet that's free from a lot of sugar, free from dairy? Dairy is a massive trigger for acne. It is a hormonally based product. For a lot of women, gluten might be the trigger, alcohol, caffeine, you know, a lot of high sodium rich foods. So look at your diet and ask yourself, how many vegetables do you eat in a day? How much water do you drink in a day? You know, how many good sources of healthy fats and protein are you getting in? Are you getting in a moderate amount of healthy organic fruit? Always ask yourself this when you're grocery shopping, when you're prepping your meal. Did it grow from the ground? Did it fall off a tree? Did it run across land or swim in the ocean at one point? That is whole food. Anything else that's quick and packaged and like ready to go for you is processed, and that's going to be more challenging for the gut to manage, digest, and break down, for the liver to have to do the next step of work, and then for your actual intestinal system to be able to eliminate and get on out. So pay attention to signs. Are you also gassy and bloated? Do you have stinky gas? You know, are you burping a lot? Do you feel like after you eat, your belly is expanded, and as the day goes on and the more meals that you eat, you just continue to feel more and more bloated? These are some big signs that I would say to you, you know, put your money back in your pocket when it comes to buying different topical ointments and masks and going for the facials. And instead, how about we focus on the food that's coming into your body and help your elimination system? Because that is going to have a huge impact on the skin that you see, your face, your chest, your back, your buttocks, like your glutes. Those are the main areas that if you have hormonal issues going on, you're going to see the acne on the glutes, on your back, on your shoulders, your chest, and your face. And it can be different for every woman. The other thing that might be happening is a micronutrient deficiency. Now, if you've been eating a fairly processed diet, this is, you know, really common. So you might be lacking certain nutrients. You might need certain vitamins and minerals. You could possibly have a bug in your gut. You could have SIBO. You could have a parasite. You could have something else opportunistic that's living inside your body. And I know that sounds gross, but you have to understand this, ladies. You are 90% other species and bacteria and viruses that you are made up of. So if you think of you as like 100%, only 10% of your DNA, cells, and structure inside your ecosystem in your body is actually made up of human matter. The rest is made up of bacteria. So we're like a walking mothership for all of that. And it can get out of whack. It can get out of balance. So if you know that you've been suffering from a lot of digestive issues for a long time, and that you can correlate the digestive issues with the skin issues, when you eat certain things, it's a matter of days, then you know the bad skin's going to crop up for you, then that's where you want to do a deeper dive. GI map, like a stool test, to understand and see what is actually in what you are passing through. What are these levels that you have in your body? Are they high, low? Do you have candida, yeast? What is going on? And these types of tests, a lot of them that I'm going to talk to you about tonight, because many of you have asked, what are the tests to ask for? Your doctor will not be able to run these. Your GP, your general practitioner, they're not trained in this. It's not their area of expertise. They're not even exposed to this. So you're going to have to go to a naturopath who offers it, and not all NDs do. You'll have to go to a functional medicine doctor or a registered holistic nutritionist who has done that continuing education and offer some of these testing. Now, I had talked to you about your liver. So this is so critical for us as women for everything. So if you have acne, if you have cramps, if you have breast tenderness, PMS, heavy cycles, if menopause is just kicking your ass, you need to be making sure that your liver is, you know, free flowing, that it's not congested. So it needs proper nutrients every day to be able to do this. Your liver has over 500 jobs every single day just to be a human being, male or female. Then we have about 50 to 80 additional endocrine-based functions as a woman that our liver has to go through. This is where you metabolize all of your estrogen, but this is where you also metabolize all of the crap. So it could be this junk that you are consuming. It could be your environmental junk around you. It could be dirty electricity, excess Wi-Fi. It could be relationships, stress. Those types of things are also going to congest the liver. So simple things that you can start to do. If you follow me, you know I love Dandy Blend. It's dandelion based. It's very alkalizing for the liver and for the blood. It helps to get things going. I find it to be far more balancing for the women I work with than coffee is, for sure. The other thing is, are you getting in some form of a tincture? So I love tinctures for the liver. This could be something if you're working with a Chinese medicine practitioner, or I love St. Francis Herb Farm has a very gentle one called Liver Hepato DR. You can get this at your health food stores. If you want to save 10%, you can go to purefeast.ca. They'll ship it straight to your house, and you can enter in the code St. Francis 10, and you can save 10% on that order. So this is something that, you know, lemon in your water is going to help with. Chlorophyll in your water is going to help with. Not drinking your water in plastic and instead drinking out of glass is going to be supporting your liver. And are you getting enough plant-based nutrients in? So, you know, this is another key one as well too, is what's happening with your body in terms of your dark leafy greens, your zinc-rich food. And this leads into my next point, which, you know, your skin is always going to show you. Your skin, your scalp, so if you have dandruff, you know, if you notice your nails are splitting, your hair is falling out, your hair is sparse and dry, are you eating pro-inflammatory foods? Right? So these are going to be foods that are really going to, you know, take a hit on your system. And the most common ones are going to be dairy, number one, most inflammatory food. Definitely if you are using processed hydrogenated oils, that's going to be a big one. Gluten will be a big one. And it's not just like, so many people think about gluten and think, oh, it's just a fad, or people who eliminate that are just trying to lose weight. No, it's that it's in everything now. And it has become a massive gut irritant, and it does a lot of damage in a lot of people's bodies. And if your gut is leaky and your gut has issues, you will see that and feel that eventually in every other area of your body. So remember, the symptom you have might be the acne or the rashes or the eczema or the hair loss right now, but it's a symptom, it's not the root cause. But we see it on the face, so we keep attacking the face, thinking that's how I'm going to be able to heal this. That is not the issue that's going on. This is coming from the inside out, and your immune system lives in your gut and your lymphatic system. So dry brushing, are you exercising often enough? Are you breathing optimally? Are you getting enough rest? Like, are you stimulating your body in the way that it needs to be in order to support having healthy skin? Now, obviously things like sugar, that is going to dampen your system. And for a lot of people, peanuts are going to be one of those, and egg whites as well too, or eggs as a whole. So that's something where you could remove it for a period of time, test yourself, and then reintroduce it. And I would say if you're going to remove it, do it for about 3 weeks and then retest and see how your body does. Now, the other reason your skin can be breaking out and acting up is that your cycle is out of whack. So if your period's all over the place, if you have an irregular cycle, if you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, oh, hold on. Sorry, folks. I forgot that a phone can ring through your computer. Give me 1 second here and let me turn my notifications off. That just actually scared me. Do not disturb. There we go. So those could be some of the big issues that that you're suffering from and that are going on as well too, right? So it's like, it's never one thing, but here's the thing with your cycle. You have to start to track it. I am so passionate about teaching women this. If you don't know when your cycle comes, what your rhythm is, this is like a huge tool that you have that can be guiding you towards how you need to support your body that you're not utilizing. So here's a couple of tips for cycle syncing. And I have a whole masterclass on this that you can access. We have it linked up on my website and over on Instagram if you go to my link tree. But here's the key things. Download an app. Okay, there's a couple great ones: Period Tracker, Clue, Flow. Even if you just go into your app store and punch in like Period Tracker, a bunch of them are going to come up. And you have to start to get into the rhythm of doing this. Now, if you're on the birth control pill, you don't have to track your cycle, because the pill is actually what's controlling your cycle. When you're on the birth control pill, you don't actually get a true, real period. It's called a chemical withdrawal bleed. This is how, you know, when you come off the pill for 7 days, you take the sugar pill, and that's when your period comes on. It's because you're no longer taking the synthetic estrogen and progestin, and now the signals the lining of the uterus to actually shed, and that's a chemical withdrawal bleed. So you don't have to do a fancy app to track it. What we want to do instead when you're on the pill, and this is a whole nother subject, is we actually want to be supporting your body so that you're not becoming mineral deficient, you're not becoming nutrient deficient, your sex hormone binding globulin levels aren't getting out of whack, so that when you transition off the pill, you're not going to have the bad acne, the weight gain, all of these other issues that are going on. Now, if you're on a Mirena IUD or a copper IUD, majority of women who use the Mirena IUD, they get very sporadic periods, if any period at all. So when the period does come on, yes, you want to track, but for those of you who don't have a cycle, you would use the moon cycle. So we are deeply connected as women to the lunar cycle. And there is the moon cycle is actually 29.5 days, but we balance it out on a 28-day calendar. And you can Google moon phases to understand where you're at. I have a whole ebook on cycle syncing that breaks this down, and you could watch that masterclass. And I have a brand new program called Synced that's coming out September 23rd on the equinox, and it teaches you all about how to psych your ebbs and flows and your cycle in your body if you are on the pill, if you've gone through menopause, if you no longer have a period, or you just don't know when it's ever going to show up. But you have to remember that our monthly menstrual cycle is a report card for what is going on in our body as a woman. And this is really the gift that we have that men do not. We literally get data every single month as to how well our body is doing. Is there inflammation that's going on? You know, are things on point? And for the women who really suffer at the time of ovulation, at the time of their menstrual cycle, these are huge clues that you need to be taking note of. Because I'll tell you, as a practitioner, when someone comes to me, the more data and information that you have on your body, the better you can describe to me what's going on, the better I'm going to be able to help you. So please don't ignore your own symptoms. Don't be dismissive of what your body is trying to tell you every single month. And then the final thing in this with the acne is, are you getting enough stimulation, enough movement? So this would be things, like I said, about exercise, dry brushing, exfoliation, those types of things. But the key thing with acne, I'm going to tell you right now to get to the bottom of it, you need to be testing your hormones. So if you go to your doctor and you ask for hormone testing, either they'll say like, no, you don't need to do that. They may test estradiol, which is one of 3 estrogens you produce. They might test your testosterone, your DHEAS, your progesterone. This would give us like a beginning glimpse as to what's going on. I would also recommend that you get a test called C-reactive protein. It'll actually say like high sensitivity HS, and then hyphen CRP. This is a biomarker to let us know if there is inflammation happening on a blood level systemically. Then the other thing is the Dutch hormone test. So the Dutch is a test that we use within the Hormone Project, and it is the Cadillac of test when it comes to hormones. It will map out the 3 estrogens that you produce, your phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification, the 3 different pathways, whether or not you are methylating, which means that you're actually binding to and neutralizing these excess hormones and then shipping them the heck out, or are they staying back in your body and wreaking havoc? We find out how much your adrenals are producing in terms of DHEA, how much testosterone is in your body, and how do you break it down? Most women who are suffering with really bad acne, hair loss, mood swings, those types of issues, hair growth on the chin, so it's like falling out of your hair or your head, but it's growing on your chin, your breast, your navel, is that there is an issue happening where you are more androgenic. You're converting more of this DHT, this testosterone, into something called 5-alpha reductase. And this is making it more potent, which is what's aggravating the system. And I'm telling you, this, like, you can use every skincare product under the sun. You could go and buy a supplement that says it's for your skin. If these are things that are happening behind the scenes in your body and you don't know this, and getting the test is part 1. Part 2 is you've got to work with somebody who understands how to read it. And then part 3 is then you have to be educated on what you do next, because it's not about buying a supplement bottle. You have to change the things in your lifestyle that are triggering the inflammation that is happening. Now, the second thing that came in around that, it kind of tied into the acne, was what is the root cause of hair loss and hirsutism? So this is when there is dramatic hair loss or thinning on the head, but hair growth in other places. And a lot of women suffer from this. And a little bit of that will happen as you move towards menopause, as you're naturally, decreasing the amount of estrogen and progesterone that you're producing, and testosterone is staying a little bit more elevated. But I mean, I'm working with girls that are like teens, 20s, 30s, into their 40s, where they're just losing handfuls of hair, but they've got it growing in other places. And so this is obviously, not something that we desire. And this is another issue with that DHT that I was talking about, which is a derivative of testosterone. So there's enzymes in our body that convert. And so 5-alpha reductase is one of these enzymes that makes your testosterone stronger in your body and more potent. And as women, you need to have a healthy amount of testosterone for your sex drive, right? So healthy libido, for muscle, for strength, for your immune system, for the balance of your hormones. But if it begins to drive the ship, hair loss from your head, it's triggered by these high levels because DHT binds the receptors in the follicles in your scalp. And it shrinks the hair follicles, making it very difficult for healthy hair and for the hair that you do have to survive. And so you could have these high levels because of excess estrogen, right? So either you're producing too much, it's coming in through your environment, through your products, skincare, plastics, toxins, or your body's not doing a very good job of filtering it out, or you have high levels of cortisol. So if you know that your stress is just jacked, like you do not get great sleep, you're constantly going from one thing to the next, you never feel like you have an opportunity to just down-regulate, those things are really going to drive that up and increase the amount of hair loss. So it's not uncommon. What I see as a cross correlation is that a lot of women who suffer from anxiety also have a lot of the hair loss. And it's because that anxiousness, that high level of cortisol, there's nutrient and mineral deficiencies. It's really all one cycle. And there's a lot that can be done for this. Balancing your blood sugar is probably the number one recommendation that I could give you for this. Oftentimes there is a relationship with women who have heavy or irregular menstrual cycles and polycystic ovarian syndrome with having what I'm talking about with the hair loss, but the hair growth in other areas. Not always, but it's a common one. And a big part of this is making sure, is your blood sugar stable? So are you eating balanced meals, protein, fat, and fiber? Are you reducing the sugary carbohydrates and instead filling up on complex carbohydrates, root-based vegetables, dark leafy greens, your foods that are rich in like the cruciferous sulforaphane? So broccoli, cauliflower, those foods, broccoli sprouts, microgreens, they literally like grab a hold. They're like a magnet to the excess amounts of hormones in your body, and they help the liver and the gut and those phases of detoxification ship them on out so they don't stay in your system and start to wreak havoc. And I know it's hard because we often think that, our body's the problem and there's something wrong with our body. No, your body's just responding to the raw material that you are providing it, or to a genetic predisposition, which your genes don't control the outcome. The genes are a vulnerability, and then the lifestyle, the habits, the patterns, the choices lay on top and then either activate those genes to then create the issue that you have going on, or to keep them dormant. So it's something really important to understand that I think we are in a society where we just look at food as like, well, if I'm not trying to lose weight, then life's a party and I can just eat whatever I want. No. You get one body that is full of cells and DNA and organs and systems that are beautifully curated and brought together to make you feel well and vital. But unfortunately, we are surrounded by commercialization, advertising, and marketing that is telling you to, have a party, you only live once, eat this. And we've become so connected to being rewarded by what's passing our lips, for that instant gratification, that huge dopamine hit to our body, that we're forgetting the essence of why we put these foods into our system. It's for fuel. It's for energy. It's for healthy cells and skin and nails and a healthy reproductive system so that your body as a woman feels safe enough to have healthy ovulation every month, to have a healthy menstrual cycle, to have a slow waning phase into menopause, but that you don't feel like your entire life got flipped upside down. When you start to have these huge swings, when you have an autoimmune condition show up, when you have your thyroid that becomes out of whack, when you are not sleeping at night and you are up between 1 and 4 and you can't get back to sleep, when you have all these different issues going on, this is not normal. Okay, this is not normal. These are common issues that women are dealing with. None of them are normal. And there's a reason behind all of them. So you have to press pause on this hurry up mentality. I want it in 2 weeks. I want it in 30 days. I want it in, 3 months. If this has been going on for years for you or a decade, you need to understand that there has to be an unwinding. And it's not about following a meal plan, because if you don't understand why the meal plan is telling you to eat certain foods or certain combinations or to remove certain things or to supplement with this or to start to focus on breath work or get outside in fresh air, whatever the heck it is, you've learned nothing. And now you're just connected to the success of you following this meal plan, which I can guarantee you, you're not going to be able to do, because nobody can follow a meal plan 100%. If that was as simple as the solution, like, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd be sitting outside. I'd have no one to talk to, because everybody would be, the solutions would be there. Everyone's problems would be solved. It's not it. You have to understand why. You've got to be educated on it. Okay. Now, things you can do to help from a herbal perspective and supplement wise, stinging nettle is amazing. It's fantastic to help with hair. It's also fantastic for alkalizing and for your liver. Your omega-3s are really important. So your fatty foods that are rich in those, supplementing daily as well too. Saw palmetto is a great herb. I love this one for women who are dealing with PCOS. I used this for a period of time after I had realized what was going on and did further investigation, that my androgens were really high. And so saw palmetto was one of the things I used to help my skin and acne. Acupuncture, like, honestly, I cannot say enough about it for literally every health reason, but for skin issues, for hair, for reproductive, for period problems, thyroid, acupuncture, and working with a traditional Chinese practitioner is fantastic. Evening primrose oil is another really great one. And this, you can actually open the capsules up. You can use it topically. Like, if you had really inflamed cystic acne, you could open up some of that evening primrose oil and just kind of pat it on. There's a great company I love called Skin Essence. Their products are oil-based. And I know everyone thinks when you have acne, don't use oil-based products. They're going to help you. If you go to my YouTube channel, Simplicity TV, I have some different videos on, you can do your own DIY oil cleansing method. I promise it's going to start to help. And then foods that are actually high in phytoestrols. So this would be things like I was talking about, Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, healthy good oils like olive oil is probably one of the best and rich in this, but also non-genetically modified organic fermented soy can do wonders for this as well as a woman. And I know we hear all the time that soy is like the devil and the worst food. It is if it's GMO and it's really poor quality. And I'm not talking soy milk. I'm talking like organic, good quality edamame, maybe a bit of miso or tempeh. There's a great powder that I love by Choose Plus called Complete, and it's got tons of phytonutrients. So when I'm working with women who have really low estrogen, or we're doing cycle syncing for women who are in menopause and beyond, I'll give them that amount of soy in the first half of their cycle to help to provide the phytoestrogens where their estrogen is very low. And then I will take them off of it for the second half where they would be moving into that luteal and menstrual phase if they still had a cycle, and work things that way. So just some things to think about. And that actually leads us into our next question that I'm going to pop into the chat. This is about low estrogen, how to support it naturally. So some of those foods I just talked about, seed cycling is huge for this. So 2 tablespoons of either ground flax or pumpkin in the first half of either the moon cycle or your physical menstrual cycle, and then switching over to using sesame seed or sunflower seed in the second half, really important. The other thing as well too is getting in enough fiber. So I'll come back to this one again and again. fiber is going to help your body, enough healthy fat. So remember, if we don't have enough fat, that is going to be supporting our level of DHEA, which is produced in your adrenals. And DHEA is like, you know, the grandmother hormone that is necessary to help you produce enough estrogen and progesterone. So I have a lot of women who come into the Hormone Project who have low estrogen or who have premature ovarian failure, is what it is oftentimes referred to. And through dietary lifestyle recommendations and supplementation and different herbs and botanicals, we are able to actually start to see some of those levels not come all the way back up, but to come up to a point where their cognition is better, the mental fog is gone, their memory is improved, their sex drive is improved, even things like, you know, their breast tissue is improving. It's not feeling like so saggy and empty, those types of things. So there are different herbs, and I would say, like, don't run out and necessarily get what I'm talking about right now. I think if you've been tested and you know you have really low estrogen levels and you're thinking about something like hormone replacement therapy or bioidentical, if you are going down the road of hormone replacement therapy, I would highly recommend that you search out a functional medicine doctor or an ND who specializes in bioidenticals, because not all of them do. So just because you go to a naturopath, they actually have to have a separate licensing to do bioidenticals. So you need to do your homework. You need to, you know, ask your community, ask friends, like, who do you know? Call up the office, ask, you know, what do you do? What do you specialize in? Because there are certain things, like oftentimes sage, black cohosh, red clover. St. Francis makes a wonderful one that is gentle enough that you could start to take it without working with somebody, but strong enough that it can start to make an impact. And it's called their Vitex combo, and it says menopause right on the front of it. I actually will take this one for me when life is like a little bit crazier, because I know my cycle will be impacted by that level of stress. But at the end of the day, if you know you're really struggling with those things, I would work with somebody who can, like, work with you, the individual. So the Hormone Project is group-based, but you get 3 consults with us as well. You have to have somebody understand your stuff. So that leads into the 4th question. And then I'm going to come in the group about, someone asked what my opinion is on bioidenticals. I have a lot of women who have really great success with them. Not working with me on it because I legally can't prescribe them. But for women who are in the Hormone Project, we help them build a team. So we help them, you know, build a team with an ND or Chinese medicine practitioner, an osteopath, Reiki, bioidenticals, and that's something that we do for them when they're in the program. And there's been some good success with some of those women, but it is not my area of expertise, okay? All right, let me hop over into our chat. Okay, so there's already one question in there. If I'm planning on going off the pill, what is the best time to take the Dutch test? I would wait 3 months. Wait at least 3 months. Okay. Okay, so I'm over here in the chat. I've actually just like cranked out probably 6 or 7 or 8 responses just in that little bit of talking. So what other questions do you have right now about the things that I just talked about? And then I'll go back and answer, because what I'm going to get into next is talking about why you might have painful ovulation, painful periods. I have women writing in that are saying, like, my first 2 days of my cycle, I have diarrhea, I'm puking, you know, I have migraines, I can't get out of bed. That is not okay. That is not okay. We are not designed to feel like that. And that is definitely a sign that something is going on. If I'm on the Mirena IUD, can I take the Dutch test? Yes, you can. We would just note that. And when you fill out your form that comes with the Dutch, let me actually grab one to show you what it looks like. Hold on. Okay, so I do my Dutch every single year on my birthday. I'm turning 40 next week. And so, okay, so it comes like this. I'm going to show you this. This is VIP, ladies. I normally don't do this unless, you know, you're in one of the programs. So It all comes like this and opens up. It walks you through exactly, you're going to do 4 or 5 pee strips. So if you're somebody who wakes up to go pee in the middle of the night, then you have to do a 5th pee strip. But it walks you through exactly how to take it. Now, here's the thing. Again, your family doctor, not going to know how to do this test. There's also a lot of, like, a naturopath is not trained on doing the Dutch test. They actually have to do additional education. So you have to pre-qualify your practitioner. Ask the question, can you order this test? Do you know how to read and interpret this test? Because I cannot tell you how many emails we receive from people saying, so I did my Dutch, my ND went over it with me, or my practitioner did, but they didn't really sound all that confident, and they were explaining what it meant for me, and I don't know what to do now. And so that is something that that we offer. So once you get it, you have an intake form that you are going to fill out, where it's going to get to know more about you and your health history, okay, all that stuff. Your shipping is all included, so you get a UPS that you're going to send it back with, and then you have your pee strips. So I'm going to show you what these look like. Okay, this is, I firmly believe, I think that every girl in her pubescent years, so I would say somewhere between the age of 14 and 18, should have a Dutch test done. Every decade, at bare minimum. But when something is out of whack, like I do mine every year, because how do we know how our body is truly doing if we don't have benchmarks? I get blood work done every year, and I get the Dutch done every single year, so that I can actually see not just on how am I physically, mentally, and emotionally feeling, but what is the chemistry inside of my body? Because when we have more data, when we test instead of guessing, now you can pinpoint and get to a solution-oriented approach faster, as opposed to, I'll try this, I'll try that. Like, ask yourself this: how many bottles of supplements and powders and things do you own, but you don't know why you bought it? You don't use it anymore. Okay, so you write all your info, date and time that you're going to pee. You do your first test at 5 p.m. at night. Then you do one around 10 p.m. You sleep. If you wake up to pee, you're going to have to pee on a strip. In the morning when you wake, you literally, like, you do not check your phone, your eyes open, you don't drink water, you go to the bathroom, you pee on the paper, and then you do one a couple hours later. So when you sit down on the toilet, you put, this is like kind of like a carbon piece of paper, goes underneath your urine stream. You pee on it. You've already labeled this. Don't pee and then try and label. It's messy, okay? So you do this, put it on the counter. They're all going to dry out. Once everything is dried, you have your specimen bag. Everything goes back into it. UPS, you ship it off. Takes about 3 weeks on average in order to get all of your results back, okay? Will we have access to this recording? Yes, you will. If you registered, you get the recording. Do you have women who have technically hit menopause but then come back out into perimenopause? Yes, I do. I have women who have gone years without having a menstrual cycle, and then they start to clean up their lifestyle. Something happens. Sometimes it can happen as a result of trauma or major stress, big change and shift in life, and the menstrual cycle can come back on. So I've definitely worked with women with that before. I have Hashimoto's, and I'm not wanting to take synthetic hormones. Do you work with this as well? Oh yeah, we work with a ton of women who are suffering from various autoimmune conditions, including Hashimoto's. So we would work with you on helping to support your immune system, on your gut. That is a huge part of it. And then depending on what was going on in your body, there's different homeopathics, there's different botanicals, herbs. There are many different solutions. What I say to women is, I would love it if you would try the lifestyle approach, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress, your movement, your supplements, herbs and botanicals first, your energy work before jumping right into hormone replacement therapy. Because how do we know that your body doesn't simply need some extra TLC and support and nourishment in order to feel better versus, you know, taking something, whether it be bioidentical or not? Oh, hey, Nicole, you're good. There's the whole recording, so you'll get the recording. We probably only have about 10, 15 minutes left here, but as long as you registered, you will get the recording. Okay, so any other questions about the subjects that I just covered before I go into talking about the painful ovulation and the very uncomfortable first days of menstrual cycle? because I'll minimize the chat so that I can get into that state of flow again, and then I'll come back over. So birth control for your 17-year-old daughter. The painful periods I'm going to talk about in a moment. So birth control at any age and stage is a very personal choice and decision. If you followed my Instagram stories today, I talked about a good friend and colleague of mine, Dr. Jolene Brighton, and she has a fantastic book called Beyond the Pill. And this is her area of specialty. She's based out of Portland, Oregon. She is a doctor that this is her main focus. And so I'd recommend that book to read and understand that. But the biggest thing is that if you do have, a daughter, or you are going to go on the pill or you're on it, is supporting your body. Minerals, phytonutrients, enough fiber. Are the detox pathways being supported? Is the lifestyle setting the body up so that if synthetic hormones are coming in via the pill, it's not going to throw her system for a total, 360. It's also paying attention to certain cues. So does her mood change? Does her appetite change? Does her, symptoms change in terms of when her cycle comes on? Because it's now, she'll transition from having a natural period to now having what's called a chemical withdrawal bleed. So you really want to pay attention to those signs and symptoms if they're changing. A lot of women can go through mental, emotional stuff when they are going onto the pill. And if she were to choose not to go on the pill, then the big thing is she has to know how to track her cycle. So, my wish would be that for anyone who's deciding to go on the pill, that you've at least had a few solid years to be able to track your cycle, to understand what is your body's natural ebb and flow and rhythms. How does it feel during ovulation? How does it feel coming into your menstrual cycle? All the bits and pieces, and really tracking this. So a lot of us keep like to-do lists or journals or diaries or whatever it may be. We really need to be keeping a journal about the data that our reproductive system is giving us every month. So tracking for 2 years, which is great. So having that information that's there. And then outside of, so managing stress is going to be a huge one. But then there's other things like barrier method, obviously, condoms. There are spermicidal foams that can be used. And I will tell you, I was on the birth control pill from 15 to 22, and I still used a condom and I still used foam. Because I was, I've been teaching and interested in this for a very long time, but I am adopted, and my birth parents were 15 and 16 when they had me. So I know very well that things can happen. And so for me growing up, when I became sexually active, it was, I need to protect my body. Now, is that overkill? Probably. But what I'm saying is tracking a cycle, using those things. She needs to understand when she's ovulating. So for any of you listening who are going to be coming off the pill, or who are thinking about going on to the pill, the thing you have to understand is, do you ovulate? And if so, when? And understanding that as a woman, you have about a 24-hour period of time that you can actually become pregnant based on your body. Now, sperm can live inside of the vaginal area and the cervix for up to 5 days. So we truly have about a 5-day window. We're taught as women, once you get your period, you can get pregnant any day of the week. It is not true. It is not true. And so, if I practiced for a long time when I came off the pill, I didn't use anything once I was educated at 22. I used what was called FAM, Fertility Awareness Method. There's a great book called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. It should be curriculum for young girls and women everywhere. And I knew my cycle, and I abstained from having sex or would use something like a condom at that time. And had very healthy cycles. And then when I wanted to get pregnant, got pregnant. So there are different things. How long should you give your system with change, nutrition, exercise, managing stress before you can expect to see changes? So here's the thing, Miranda, it's got to be consistency. So I know, because I work with humans, women every single day, that they're on and they're off, they're on and then they're off. So the on and off is like switching the switch on and off of like, okay, body, I'm giving you the right signals to be supported and to feel well and balanced. And then I am going to turn the light off and not give you those things. So consistency is huge. Whatever you are doing. So here's my recommendation. Whatever you're doing, if it feels overwhelming, cut it in half. Cut it in half and start to do those things consistently. Can you drink your water every day? Can you, eat more vegetables? Can you start to move your body? Can you nail down the simple core concepts first? And then, you'll notice a difference in your digestion and your bowels within a couple of weeks. You'll notice a difference within your energy within a few more weeks after that. Sleep will probably be the next thing that will happen. Skin, it doesn't take as long as people think it does unless there's something that has been in there for a long period of time going on, and that might take a little bit more nudging and a little bit more support. So the general rule of thumb is, say you've had something going on for a solid year, I would give it 2 to 3 months. If you've had it going on for 3 to 5 years, I'd say give yourself a solid 6 to 12 months, and it's been going on longer than 5 years. You have to think to yourself, this is a journey of a few years for me, and then ultimately this is the journey towards a lifetime. But if you're consistent, you're going to start to feel the difference right away. The other example I would give you on that is, ask yourself this. How many of you have eaten healthy for a few days, a few weeks, and then you say, I'm just going to go treat myself? And you go and you eat a meal, or you stay up later than you normally did, or you have a bit too much alcohol. You do something that's just totally not in your normal paradigm of your life, and you wake up the next day and feel awful. You don't have the energy, you're thirsty, you've got a headache, you feel like you have a lifestyle hangover, like you just feel totally out of whack. That's how quickly these changes can happen, both in a negative way and in a positive way. When is your next book coming out? I do not know, but it'll be on Audible, not in print. I can tell you that. And thank you. Yeah, birthday coming up. Okay, so let's go into the next topic, and we're 6:20 here, so I'm going to try and wrap this up within about 10 minutes or so. So I had a lot of questions come in asking about painful ovulation and painful cramps during the first couple days of period, and headaches, breast tenderness, moodiness, weepiness, diarrhea, throwing up, a lot of nausea. These are not normal symptoms. So there's really 2 reasons why we get the cramps, the breast tenderness, and the body being in an inflammatory state. And that's what this is. All these symptoms that I just rang off, these are inflammation symptoms that are happening in the body. One is a chemical reason and one is a functional reason. And these are the possible things that could be going on. So the chemical reason is, especially for cramps and the pain, are prostaglandins. Prostaglandins, we have 3 different ones specific to our reproductive system in our body. They stimulate the uterus muscles to contract, to help to actually shed the lining, and which is what's giving you that period. Now, the more prostaglandin E2, which this is where I see a reflection in the Dutch test, where women who have high levels of estradiol, and oftentimes I see as well too high levels of estrone, or they're not detoxing their estrogen properly, they're going to have the worst cramps. As there are women who have normal healthy levels of estrogen, their body's properly eliminating, they do not suffer from the cramps at all. So you can get estradiol tested in blood, but I would recommend that you do it in something like the Dutch test, because you'll be able to see all 3 of the estrogens plus the phase 1 detox pathway. So there's a 16, a 4, and a 2 pathway. And we want to make sure that that estrogen is shuttling down a 2 pathway. If it's moving down what's called a 16 pathway, and again, you would see this in a Dutch, this is a proliferative pathway. This is where fibroids, cysts, breast density issues are going to happen. This is also where we see more vulnerability towards breast cancer. So this is, if this one's lit up, we need to provide your body with the nutrients and the missing links to fill that gap, to shuttle that estrogen out of that 16 pathway down to that safer 2 pathway. If it's moving down a 4 pathway, this is going to contribute to far more inflammation on a DNA level, on a cell structure level. It's also more carcinogenic, but contributes to more things like autoimmune issues. I've seen time and time again women who have fibromyalgia, MS, Parkinson's. This pathway is lit right up. And there's a lot that we can do, but if we don't know exactly what we're dealing with, if we're not running these type of tests on our bodies, how can we possibly understand what that next best step is? The other thing is that if these prostaglandins are high in our teens or in women who are suffering during ovulation in their actual first couple days, is that they're going to feel the nausea because those hormonal levels are just at an all-time high. They're going to have the migraines. They're not going to want to get out of bed. You're really going to want to incubate. And that is a normal way of feeling for your first, 48 to 72 hours of your period in general. So I would encourage that you do listen to your body. You do take the rest that you need. But in the meantime, you've got to clean up the food that's coming in, clean up the products. And if you feel like you're like, yeah, check, I'm doing all of those things, then that's when I would recommend doing the testing and getting a better understanding of what is going on. Now, so that's more the chemical side. On the functional side of things, this is, if it's going on often, I would recommend going to your family doctor, because it could be signs of fibroids, it could be signs of cyst, it could be signs of an infection, endometriosis, or it could be actual like shaping or positioning of the uterus. So this is another reason, and maybe not for a teen, depending on how comfortable that they are, but definitely for all of us that are, grown women, working with a pelvic floor physiotherapist to actually understand the landscape of your uterus, of your cervix, of your pelvic floor muscles, where your bladder and where your rectum and your bowels all feed into this one system. If you're peeing all the time when you're laughing or sneezing, or you can't do certain things, or you have painful intercourse, this is something that you definitely want to get checked out, and you want to be looking for a good pelvic floor physiotherapist. I have a whole podcast episode on this. I think it's episode 41 with Sheila Zelmer that I would recommend that you go back to listen to. Now, what are some of the bigger things that you can do to help to eliminate the nausea, the throwing up, the cramping, the headaches, the diarrhea or constipation in those first couple of days? The first thing I would say to you is, if you have really deep cramps, don't use tampons in the first 1 to 2 days. Let yourself have a free flow. Because the cramping is happening so deep in that uterus and in the cervix, if you have something in there, whether it's a tampon or even a menstrual cup, it is going to contract against it and can intensify the cramps. So using organic pads and allowing that free flow to happen for at least the first day. I know that that feels kind of messy and but you can combine doing that with Epsom salts bath, with magnesium flakes, a hot water bottle, castor oil massaged into the uterus topically on your belly with the heating pad over top of it is going to do wonders for helping to calm down the cramps. Clary sage essential oil. I really like doTERRA. Massaged into the skin. Think like between the belly button and the pubic bone and in between the hip bones. That whole area can also really help subside pain. And then, some other things would be to, get your omegas in. Your omegas are going to help to downregulate your inflammation. And then to massage the uterus. So there is a ball called the Gorgeous Ball. Mine's actually downstairs right now. I have it on YouTube and on my Instagram feed. And it is a ball where I teach you how to do abdominal massaging. And I have YouTube episodes on this. And if you buy any of my movement series, like in Synced coming up, our first 2 days on our menstrual cycle, we roll our belly each one of those days. And I give you different sequences to do to help to combat a lot of this cramping. So let me come back into the chat. Okay. What was the oil? Castor oil. Right? So castor oil is amazing for so many things, but tender, achy breast, fibroids and cysts in the breast tissue, cramps in the pelvis at ovulation as well as your actual cycle, and then clary sage is the doTERRA oil. So you can get it in a roller balm. You can also just buy it in the actual oil. And I have a lot of women where I have them massage it into the breast tissue and into the abdomen, as well as diffuse it at night. And it's wonderful. And there's a lot of research. There's a lot of, excuse me, science. Let me get water. There's a lot of science behind all of this. But ladies, I don't recommend you reach out to people and be like, show me the studies. How about you just try it and let yourself be the pudding, like the proof in the pudding. That's what I say to people. Like, how about you just try it on your own human body and don't let science tell you if it's going to work or not. You try it on you and let your body communicate with you, because there are a lot of very simple, very inexpensive things that we can be doing on a daily basis to no longer have painful periods. Now, the ovulatory part of it, this is because your follicles are ripening, and there is literally a burst that is happening when one egg is chosen to actually be released when you're ovulating. What's left behind is like a shell that's called a corpus luteum, and that is then broken down and your body uses that to produce progesterone. Now, if you have higher levels of estrogen, right, if you're suffering from excess estrogen, it's oftentimes referred to as estrogen dominance, that can make that ovulation much more painful. So what would you be doing? You'd be following the steps to naturally decrease your estrogen. I have podcast episodes on this. I have countless articles on my website that you can search there. You know, I've talked about this stuff all the time, so you can find the info. And the other thing is you can look into doing the Hormone Project. Like if we're going through a lot of this stuff and you're like, check, 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 oh my gosh, I have so many of these things that she's talking about, or I would love to learn and understand. Like the Hormone Project is not a challenge. It's not a transformation program. It is an educational system that I have created for women to understand what I believe we should have started to be taught about our bodies from about the age of 8 or 9, honestly. The signs, the symptoms, what our body was going to go through. Because I work with women that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and their 30s and 20s. But what I'm saying is I work with women who, you know, these are like intelligent, badass, kick-ass women in every other area of their life, and they understand nothing about their own body. They've never been empowered. They've never been taught. And I am having the same conversations with them, breaking it down bit by bit, that I do with my 13-year-old daughter. And why I'm using that as an example is because we as grown adult women need to be taught the way that we should have when we were young girls. So it's bite-sized information. We can understand it. We can then absorb it and then be able to actually make a different choice and change when it comes to our sleep patterns, what we're putting in our grocery cart, the supplementation that we're choosing, where and how we're spending our time, our energy, and our money, because all of that contributes to that stress that's going on. And I really break it all down. So if you're interested in it, our applications you can apply right now. It's an application process. I don't accept everyone because the program is created for the woman who's ready. Like if this is all brand new information to you, then I would say that's not for you. What's for you is the Simplicity Project. And I teach that live at Nature's Emporium. It starts actually September 25th. I take 50 women twice a year, September and May, into this program. And it's amazing. And it teaches you the core fundamentals. The Hormone Project is, we do private consultations. We're looking at your blood work. You get the Dutch test in the program. So we are looking at your results. If you already have the Dutch test done by another practitioner, you send them to us. You actually, you don't pay for the test again. And we walk you through everything and we record all of it. So what's frustrating when you go to an in-person session is that you leave, and as you leave, it's like the back of your head opens up and everything that you just learned about and you talked about is gone and you don't remember it all. So we record all of your sessions. You have 10 live classes with me where I teach you everything about, and I break it all down: digestion, inflammation, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, GABA, melatonin, dopamine, serotonin, all of your neurotransmitters we get into, your adrenals, your thyroid. We support you with meal plans that are omnivore-based, plant-based, SIBO, leaky gut. You have 3 of us that are running this one. So we have an in-house naturopath, and then we have another holistic nutritionist who specializes in oncology, so cancer and autoimmunity, as well as herbs and botanicals. So we are a kick-ass team. We are very well-rounded, and this is just the beginning of what I'm trying to put out there into the world. We need more conversations like this happening, ladies, where we're asking, we have a dialogue, we're getting answers, and I'm not telling you I know everything that there is to know. But if I don't know it, I know someone who does know it. And so it's also about creating connection, right? This is like, I'm trying to create the hormonal education system that emulates what the red tent was historically for women, because we carry and hold on to all this history and this knowledge and lineage in our body from our generations of our own families, but the collective of women as a whole. And this is the time. There is a huge uprising for us to be able to tap into this. And I'm just fortunate enough to be somebody who wakes up every day with a passion to do things like this and to be exposed to women like you, because you're all teachers to me. And you help me to continue to show up and to dig deeper. And I want you to do the same. I want you to share this with another woman in your life, to share this with your daughter, to continue the conversation going. And yeah, so I think I started off by saying you could apply and then I didn't give you the info. You can go to jennpike.com/the Hormone Project. Rosie, we work with women across the world. So we have had women in 13 countries do the Hormone Project. So it doesn't matter geographically where you live. And the test gets sent out everywhere as well too. So it doesn't matter where you live. So www.jennpike.com/the Hormone Project. You can go send your application in there. And here's the thing. If I feel like the program isn't a fit for you, we don't not respond to you. I will respond to you. I will give you some tips. And then I will actually say to you, this is who I would recommend for you to work with, or this is what I think that your next step would be. So we're constantly just setting you up for success. Thank you, Nicole. Okay, I'm going to stay on for 5 more minutes if we have any last minute questions of anything that I did not get to tonight. And then I'm going to say goodbye. So any last little questions that you have here? You're welcome. You're welcome. Those weren't questions, but I'll take them. And if you don't have questions, that's cool too. I know it's a lot of info. Give it 48 hours for the recording to come back out to listen to. I'll just hang here for a minute in case someone's typing something. This, I got to tell you, this was actually quite comfy doing this on my bedroom floor, leaning back against the bed. I might do it here more often. And I have a really sweet view. Not that I don't where my desk is, but here I get the full lake effect. Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Awesome. So good. Okay. I'm going to sign off, ladies. There's no additional questions coming in. So thanks so much for joining me. And like I said, you have my full on permission to share this with as many people as possible. So have a great rest of your night.